glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasam, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Hahakodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone Well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. All right, today I want to go into a topic. All right, I want to explain something right quick. I want to break down something right quick. 1 second, I can. So I have a story. I want to explain to brothers, tell brothers and sisters. I'm gonna have it comes with a parallel. All right, so about a year ago, it was literally a year ago, November last, little kitten. A coworker told me, look, he asked me that I want a kitten because it was actually a kitten stuck in his car bumper. So in the front of his car bumper, he had been driving to work and driving from work for about 3 days in a row with a little kitten stuck in his car bumper, you know? And he showed, when I was getting off work, as I'm walking to my car, it was like, hey, you want a cat? And they had it, at that point, they had the maintenance workers got it out of his bumper, and they had it in a little box. And basically it was like a little feral kitten in a sense. And she was frightened of anything. She was hissing and frightened of anything. But her eye had like a little fungi in it or something. She had like one functioning eye at that time. And she was just horrified of any human contact, rightfully so. She was just a little ball of cotton, like a little ball of fur, you know? Long story short, it took her about almost 2 weeks to just fully acclimate to me. But I fed her, you know, I nourished her, you know, just, you know, kept her in my apartment. She did her damage. Nonetheless, you know, she was a cool little cat, right? And like I said, I had her for about a year. Lately, she had been very curious as to what was outside. So within the past maybe 2 weeks, she'll run outside the apartment door and just kind of stop a couple feet in front of the door. But Sunday, she ran outside because obviously she's in heat, you know. But she ran outside, and I went to pick her up to show her to her brother, but she got scared when her brother came. That was in my apartment. You know, he was visiting my apartment complex. And then she came, she fell out of my arms, she slipped out of my hands. And long story short, she basically disappeared. She just ran away. She ran away, you know. But I know why she ran away, because I believe it's that curiosity inside of her. She was probably in heat. But I was like, fuck her, I'm not gonna run out the cat. It's just time for her to go. Maybe she'll come back. But 2 days later, which was this morning, all right, before I get ready to go to work, guess who I hear meowing at my window? You see? She's meowing at my window, right? So when I open up the door, I open up the window, I see her, all right, and she's skinnier, you know? So obviously she had missed a meal or two, you know what I mean? She wasn't really eating in a while like that. And then I let her in my apartment. And this time when I opened the door, she didn't have that curiosity to go outside. She didn't have that, what's outside, what's out there. She didn't have it, you know? And what comes to mind is Ezekiel 16. Okay? Ezekiel 16, the Most High likened Israel to a little abandoned infant baby. And the Most High nourished that infant baby, all right? He nourished her, all right? You know, she was basically broken naked, poor and naked when he saw her. He found her, just like my little kid, just impoverished, frightened, you know? But Yahweh Hashem Shai nourished Israel. And Israel, well, for one, Israel, she became a, the cat had that nature in her, that curiosity, you know. Basically, she was in the heat, and she had a curiosity for, I guess, strays, you know. But obviously, she couldn't be nourished out there in the streets. You see? She couldn't be nourished out there in the streets. Shalom, redeem, Yasha Allah, 444. You see? So now, Israel, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, we're out here in these fucking streets, man. But now we're meowing at Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai's door. The elect are meowing at Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai's door, all skinny and deprived and shit. You see? Actually, we're beating down the fucking door. Have you ever heard a cat that was just really needed help? It's row. That's how a cat that really needs help. Row. Just hungry as fucking shit, you know? So we're meowing at Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai's door. Really, we're yelling, we're screaming. Because the streets ain't no joke, man. You see? And that's really the nature of a young woman that, is what they would call fast, has those ways, those whorish ways. They have a calling for the streets. And Jake has that saying, oh, she's for the streets. But see, just like my little kitten, Israel was a little nourished daughter. She was nourished. The good man gave her everything. Or a nourished wife. Like the good man gave her everything she could want. That's the good man. But she had that curiosity for them Canaanites, man. She was up there rod measuring with her eyes. Them Canaanite idols, man. And that's what whores do. They sit there and they rod measure and they those whorish ways, man. But they went out there and they were just a piece of meat to these dudes that they lusted. All right, the dudes they lusted only wanted one thing out of them. You see? So when my little kitten came back, well, she's a cat now. She came back, meowing at my freaking doors. And 2 days later, just in 2 days, she had lost weight, skinny, scared, cold, But I was thinking, man, that's Israel, man. Now we're knocking on the Most High's door, scared, cold, skinny, we ain't got nothing. We had a heritage before we got kicked out of Jerusalem, out of our father's house. All right. When King David was in power, King Solomon was in power, Israel was rich. But what happened? King Solomon had them heathen women have their little idol temples in the kingdom of Jerusalem. All right. The northern kingdom, southern kingdom, they lusted out the idols. All right. Look at Ephraim. Look at Issachar. Look at Simeon. They're cleaved out the idols, man. They're cleaved unto idols. Literally, idols tattooed on them, on their backs. Cleaved unto them. Day of the dead, cleaved unto them, man. All into Satan. But as a nation, you lusted after those idols, man. You lusted after them. Look at Judah. Eve all into what they call spirit now, and it's Queen of Heaven shit, and they was into Crispus and Rapis and shit. Cleaved unto idols. Thug life going back to thuggy and actual deity. Eve want to be this diva, which goes back to an actual deity. You see? They're cleaved unto him, man. You see? But I mean, that's the point. That's pretty much the point, man, But now we're meowing like my little cat at the door. We're knocking on the door, beating down on the door. Because the Most High gave us over to the very thing we lusted after. And he gave us over to all the idols that we worship, all the heathen that we worship, all the cultures that we enclose ourselves in. She gave us over to the bondage of that. Because it said, who did not have a partaking in Israel's spoil? I believe that's in Second Maccabees. You know? But that's pretty much the point, man. You know? Now we're knocking at Yahweh Bahashim outside's door, all naked and deprived. You know? Ain't no love in the heart of the city, man. All right, but with that, I hope this was edification. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim outside. Bahashim Hakagas. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness. To the house of David the elect. Abba Baal, Kum Yashala, Shalom.